my goodness, you guys are in for a treat. Laraine Weschler is joining us today from Naugatuck Public Schools. You guys, check out the show notes and go to her pages, okay? That is your call to action today, is to go to the show notes and look at Naugatuck's Facebook and Instagram, Twitter accounts, like the work that Laraine does, which just after the show, guys, Lorraine's like, parents come up to me all the time and they're like, you probably don't hear this very often, but you do a great job. And she's like, actually, I do hear that pretty often. She doesn't tell that to the parents, but there's a reason, guys, that people tell her that, because Laraine is flipping killing it. She was born to do this job. She is amazing at what she does, and you guys want to listen to this podcast interview, but you definitely want to look at her pages. She's going to talk about her role as the communications specialist. She's going to go into deep dive on a Facebook group that she runs in her community that she started in COVID. She shared, she wishes she would have thought through some things before starting it, because everything didn't go completely smooth, but you're going to find out some of her lessons learned and how it's really helped them communicate and engage with their families more. I think by the end, you might be convinced that you should start a Facebook group for your school district. I don't know for sure. I want to know by an email whether that is. And then we're going to talk about some of her staff and alumni features and some of her best tips. So lean into this episode because it is really, really flipping good. And just a reminder again, our social media awards, the last day to complete those submissions is this Friday, April 1st. You are going to be competing against people like Laraine. So submit your best stuff, but there's no cost to enter. So why not try? But you got to get that done by this Friday. So now let's get to today's K-12 PR tip. All right, guys, today's K-12 PR tip is a public service announcement on behalf of Melissa Reese out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, who just got locked out of her personal account that was like totally legit, but got locked out, shut down for some reason, and she is in like Facebook HE double hockey sticks. Like, it is really bad. And it all relates to the way that she had two-factor authentication set up. So the tip is this: check your two-factor authentication, which is on your personal profile on Facebook, your personal profile, under security and settings, and then security and login. You should have two-factor authentication set up because it makes your profile much safer. But when you go into your two-factor authentication, you need to make sure that your page is set up, and I'm just getting a code sent to my text message to even go in there, because I'm going in there while we do this. You have to make sure that it is set up to go to either a phone number or an email address, and not to an app that is associated with Facebook. She has had it set up to go to like a Facebook code generator, which you have to be logged into Facebook to use. So if you're locked out of Facebook, you can't get the code to unlock it. And we're trying to work with Facebook. I hope by the time this airs that that's already fixed. But you guys, legit, we were on the phone with somebody for an hour and 15 minutes yesterday, and it's like, yeah, basically we can't help you. That sucks. So please, this is my that's my official PR term. That sucks. I'm sorry. But when you go to your Facebook page on your desktop, you go up into the upper right hand corner next to the little bell with the notifications. It's that little arrow down. Go to account, go to settings and privacy, go to settings, and then go to security and login. Go into your two-factor authentication. Make sure that it's set up to either give you a text message or an email, something that is not an app that goes with Facebook. Okay. I hope it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, email me, Andrea@socialschoolforedu.com. It has nothing to do with the way that your school's pages are set up. It's your personal profile that you use to access your business pages or your school pages. Okay. And I've talked at length before about not using fake accounts, which still holds true. Do not use a fake account. But in this case, a real account got shut down and now she can't get back in. And so it's a nightmare. So PSA for today, make sure two-factor authentication goes to a text message or an email and not another app that's associated with Facebook. Hope that helps, guys. Okay, Lorraine's got a lot of good stuff to share. Let's get to it. Welcome to the podcast, Laraine. I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So today our guest is Laraine Weschler. We first connected through one of my Facebook challenges, right?
Yes, I've been following you for a while. I'm signed up for all of your emails, and when you did the Facebook challenge, I jumped on it.
Yeah, and you got a free membership.
I did, and I appreciate it very much.
Because you rocked it. And I was like, I need more Laraine in my life. And after you guys listen to this podcast interview, you're going to follow her pages and you're going to need a little more Laraine in your life as well. So you are the communication specialist for Naugatuck Public Schools in Connecticut. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your background and kind of your role?
So I came to this role from the newspaper world. I think a lot of communication specialists have followed this route. I was a reporter for our local regional newspaper for about 7 years, and I went to the dark side, as we joke, for former reporters who get into PR. But I've loved it so far. I've been here for 4 years now, and it's just great to be able to represent our school. I'm a big believer in the value of public education, and I think we have a great school district here. I live in town, and it's really awesome to just see all the great things that are happening in our district.
Are you originally from that community or not?
No, I'm a transplant. I actually grew up in Pennsylvania, and I moved here. My husband's from Connecticut.
Okay, awesome. So when you started 4 years ago, were you the first one in this communication specialist role?
No, there was somebody in this role before me, but it was only a part-time position then. And when I started, we were just about to start a new website redesign project, and I jumped right into it, and I came with a lot of ideas, and within a few months they said, let's just hire you full-time. So.
Oh, that is awesome. And then how many students do you have there K through 12?
We have about 4,500 students.
Okay.
I think it's inching closer to like 5,000 now.
That's awesome, because a lot of schools are going backwards right now. So, okay, so you do a lot of things with communication. Social media is one of those, kind of responsibilities. So can you just kind of explain how social media fits into your role? What channels do you manage and that kind of thing?
Yeah, social media is a pretty big part of my role here. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I do have a TikTok channel. There's only like 3 videos on it so far. I'm not quite sure about how much I want to launch into that. There's, a lot of different issues with TikTok, but am I forgetting any?
I think that's probably it. And then how do you get most of that content? Are you generating most of that? And we're going to link all of your profiles, because you guys, like, Laraine does an amazing job. She's an amazing storyteller, but her graphics and oh my gosh, it's so good. I've got it over on my other screen, Laraine, and I just, every time I look at your channels, your Instagram page is spot on. But I light up because she's really doing it right. So make sure it's in the show notes, all of those links. But yeah, how are you getting most of those stories? Do you go out and get most of them, or do you have any method of people submitting things to you, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. I also have a background as a photographer. I shoot weddings on weekends, so my skills in that area are pretty good. So I go out a lot into our schools and take pictures and videos to post on the website. But I also try to solicit posts and pictures from our staff. So I think it's a lot about building personal relationships. I've been here for, I think, 4 years now, and It's just a matter of like getting out there in the community. People see me, they know what I'm there for. And the more they see me, like the more that I kind of stay at the top of their mind. So, I always try to chat with our teachers and our staff when I'm out at our schools and encourage them to let me know about things going on in their classrooms and encourage them to send me things. I can't be everywhere at once. We're a pretty, big district and there's a lot going on. So if I can't come, I just, take a picture and send it to me.
Yeah.
So,
So question for you on, gosh, I lost my train of thought. That's what happens. Like it's getting to be spring fever. Oh, how do you make time to get out to your buildings? How many different school buildings do you have?
we have, I always have to count. I think it's 9. We
Okay.
have 5 elementary schools, 2 intermediate, a middle school, and our high school.
Okay. So how often are you in those buildings? Is it almost on a daily basis, or what would you say?
It depends on the week and what else I've got going on, and what's happening in the schools. I'm not there every single day, but I definitely get out a few times a week, maybe most days, maybe half the days.
Okay, so but maybe 2 to 3 times a week is pretty typical for you. And when you look at the content that you're sharing, that is paying off greatly. And so anybody listening who, I came up with this, Laraine, I came up with this saying yesterday on my walk when I wasn't listening to a podcast, because I was like, I'm going to listen to nature and all of this. You know how people are like, I don't have time. I think the saying should always be, I didn't make time. Because really, like, we all have time, but it's choosing what you do. So you can say, I don't have time to get out into the buildings, but really it's, I didn't make the time to get out into the buildings. And in some cases, you guys, it's legit. Like, I totally understand that you do have a lot going on, but it's like, or I can't make the time to get, to do this event or that event. But I think it's so important, one, to get out there yourself, because your pictures are going to be better, but 2, those are those opportunities, like you said, to build those relationships, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just a matter of what your priorities are.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have a limited amount of time, so you just have to decide what's the most important. And sometimes, I have other projects that I'm working on that I just need to get done, and I need to set aside some time to just work on that and get it done. But whenever I can, I try to go out, and especially if someone asks me to be someplace, I really try to come, because I want to encourage them to keep asking me. And if they ask me and I say no, I'm afraid they're not going to ask me next time.
Right. So do you like my comparison of I didn't make the time? Like, I don't know, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I I think it's not so much like, yeah, you do have to make the time, but I guess you can't just like magically make time out of nowhere. There's a limited quantity of it. So I think it's more about setting your priorities and how you're going to spend your time.
Right. And I was specifically thinking about my kids, because I just got back from a vacation with my 6 kids. It was the best vacation ever. And I was so into focusing on them, and sometimes how we get distracted by our work, which we have to sometimes, but it's like, especially when I think about my kids, telling them, them asking me something and then be like, I can't make the time to do that or whatever. But Deep Thoughts by Andrea Gribble. Okay, so one of the unique things that, and we're going to come back and talk to some other things that you're doing there in Naugatuck, but one of the unique things that I wanted to cover in this podcast interview is you have a forward-facing, like, school district page where you're celebrating everything, but you also have a Facebook group of community members, parents, and those things that you manage for the school. So I want to really explore this. So why did you create that Facebook group?
I created the group during the pandemic, that in 2020. So after the summer, after, we shut down for like the last 3 months of 2020, and then over the summer, we were coming up with our plan for returning to a partially in-person hybrid learning model in the fall. And, we had a lot of information to communicate, and we had a lot of parents who had a lot of questions. And I just kind of went for it. I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a Facebook group. And, so I did it. I just created it. I didn't have like a really solid plan. But it's worked out great for the most part. I think I just looked at my numbers, and we have about 1,500 members in our Facebook group, which we got really quickly after I started it. And of that, 1,300 of them have been active within the last month. So I just think you can't get that kind of engagement on any other platform as like a percent of the people who are following us. That's 87% of our members in our Facebook group are active in the group. And I looked even on the daily, how many people interact with it per day, and we get upwards of 1,000 people per day on that group interacting.
That's awesome. And we all know, organic reach with our other pages. And I'm imagining, COVID definitely has changed the way that we communicate, and putting out some of those informational things out for the whole world to see on your Facebook page versus putting them inside of a group where hopefully you can maybe contain things a little bit and maybe answer questions or those types of things. Was that kind of some of your thought too behind starting that group?
Yeah, for sure. I think Facebook groups are a lot more interactive than pages, and the biggest difference is that other people can post. So on the Facebook page, I'm the only one who posts on our Facebook page, and then people can comment and then they can interact with it that way. But on the groups, parents can come and they can post a question. And it's great because that way, rather than getting the same question from 100 different parents and having to answer it 100 different times, I can just address it once in the group and everyone can know the answer.
Yeah. You just said the good thing is I'm not the only one that posts. Parents can post, and people are cringing like, that's the good thing. Like, I'm afraid. So how about moderating it? Because I can imagine in some cases, and I know because of our social buzz and our membership group, you were really nervous as you were making the transition to mass optional, like, oh my gosh, like I'm really nervous about this. So just tell me a little bit about how that moderation works and how you can kind of try to keep things positive or have things spiraled out of control sometimes. Tell me.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a challenge in a Facebook group than on your page. There's a lot more opportunity for parents to post things, to complain about things. I think if you're going to start a Facebook group, you have to be comfortable with that. And whenever someone posts something that might be, construed as negative, I just remind myself that like these are people, these are parents and community members who just want the best thing for their kids. We all want the same thing. We all want our kids and our community to thrive, and they want to feel safe in school, and they want to have the best education possible for their kids. So sometimes people can come off on social media as like a bit brusque, but at the end of the day, they're just trying to do the best for their kids, and they're asking genuine questions that they want to know the answers to, and they deserve to know the answers to. We're a public school, we serve the public, and the public deserves to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So yeah, for sure you have to be, there's more, I guess, controversial things that come up in our group than come up on the page. On our page, I can really control the message more because, I'm only posting positive things on our page, and it garners positive comments and positive feedback. Whereas on the group, parents can post if they're having an issue, with something, they can post about it, and other parents might jump on and be like, oh yeah, I'm having the same issue. But I just remind myself, they're having a real issue, and I can address it here. So I can point them in the direction that they need to get the help. I can explain, the reasoning behind something if, there's something that they don't agree with. And it really has been, every now and then we've had a flare up of controversy especially when, the COVID rules change. And people have different opinions about what should be done. But overall, it's been a really positive experience, and parents are able to help each other as well. So I don't always have to answer their questions. A lot of times other parents will know the answers to their questions and they'll jump in. It's really great to see. Sometimes we'll have new families who haven't been in our schools, who are just joining our community, come in and be asking questions. And it's really heartwarming to see the responses from, the other parents that are like, oh, like, welcome. You're going to have a great experience here. They share their experiences. Parents are able to spontaneously, share positive experiences they have as well. And we've had some really great posts that parents have put in there about, one time one of our principals rode the school bus home to help a kid. Just little stories like that I maybe wouldn't get otherwise. So.
Right. So yeah. So overall, I think it's really helped in your communication efforts.
Yeah, and I think I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from parents as well, who've reached out to me and said, we really appreciate your transparency. We really appreciate feeling like we're being heard, that there's someone to listen to us. And they feel more engaged in our school district, which is really the goal.
Right. So I think everybody listening would be like, okay, this sounds like, okay, if I can get in there and get that thick skin or that compassion, right? Empathy. That's what you described as. You're just empathetic to whatever concern they come up. You're always trying to put yourself in their shoes and knowing that it is a concern for them. So people are like, okay, I can see the advantages, but how much time does this take? So how do you balance that? I'm imagining it takes some time in your schedule to be able to manage that group.
Yeah, it does. It does take some time, but I would say it takes less time than managing the actual page, because I'm not posting every day on a schedule. I'm not necessarily posting the same kind of things that I would on the page that I have to plan out.
Mm-hmm.
I post some prompt questions to, just start fun conversations. I share things, but a lot of the burden of it is really on the other members of the group who are sharing things. You manage a group too. So
Yeah.
you don't have to plan as much formal content with it. And especially once the group gets going and people are really engaging with it and posting things themselves, it takes less time. I guess, I just need to keep an eye on it and make sure, there's no conversations getting out of hand. We have a bunch of rules in the group about how, people should conduct themselves. We don't allow swearing and name calling, and, advertising, things like that. So
Okay.
it's just keeping an eye on it and chiming in. And if there's a question that someone asks that I know the answer to, I'll, make sure that they get the correct answer. I don't want someone to post something and someone else to give them the wrong answer. So I usually try to jump in quickly if it's, something that I can answer and make sure they get the correct information.
So do you get notifications when something new goes in, or are you just maybe twice a day trying to check in just to see what activity's gone on?
Yeah, so I have all the posts on approval. So every single thing that gets posted on it, I have to approve it first. So, sometimes if it's something, I don't allow, direct complaints about specific personnel, but if someone has an issue, I can, message them privately and try to address it. So yeah, I'm screening everything, all the posts that go in to make sure they're appropriate.
That's powerful, guys. So, I was just part of a group because I just went to Key West with my family, and I was part of a group and they also had to approve it before it went in, so that, for whatever reason, if somebody's asking repetitive questions or whatever, but I think that's great. And I can only imagine, Laraine, that this has really helped your understanding of your parents and your community and what they're concerned with, and so that you can improve your communication based on listening to those conversations, right?
Yeah, it definitely helps with that. It definitely helps to know like what is on people's minds. People are having conversations about our schools somewhere on the internet, or in person, and it's nice to have an ear on that and be able to address things directly rather than having people talking about us behind our backs. I
Right.
guess.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
we've written some articles on, those gossip groups that people have, about your school, where they're talking about your community and probably a lot of different things. But this, you kind of have some control. So I'd love to know, like, are you convinced, guys? Like, tweet me at Andrea Gribble and let me know, hey, are you thinking about a Facebook group? And we've got Lorraine's contact information on the show notes. And so I'm sure that if you have additional questions, you can ask her. And Laraine, I'm just thinking forward that this would make a really good blog article so that people could reference back to it. So guys, we will eventually put together a little blog article that can kind of talk about some of the settings that Laraine has in this. Would that be okay, Laraine?
yeah, Facebook has a lot of great controls, and you can put keyword alerts. So if certain keywords pop up, it will notify you. And you can also there's different approvals that you can do for who can join the group that are automated. So there's a lot of settings in Facebook that help you manage it. I'm actually a certified Facebook community manager.
Oh.
I took a test and everything. It was a big deal.
She's legit, guys.
I'm
She
legit.
is legit. Was that helpful? Because Melissa might want to do that for our membership group.
Yeah, I think it was helpful. It was
Okay.
helpful to think about it, and you know, um, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So that's about groups. And I got a few more questions. Time's flying by, Laraine, and I knew it would be, but this is awesome. This is so interesting. And I think you've piqued the interest of a lot of folks. So you have had amazing success with two different types of features, both your staff features, and then you've had some alumni features. So can you kind of just walk me through how you do each of those, and and we'll make sure to link a couple of these examples for our listeners. So first, maybe the staff features.
Yeah, well, for both of them, actually, I have a form that people can fill out to submit um, a shout out for staff or for alumni to share their stories. And I think that's the key, is that I include the link to that form on every single post that I do of one of the features. And I think the staff features, I just have people just need to fill out the form saying just a nice thing about the staff member. They can basically write whatever they want. Usually it's like a paragraph or so, why they think the staff member is great. And then I go and get a picture of them and make a little graphic and post it. And the really great thing about it is that not only is like the original nice thing that someone said about a staff member posted there, but then in the comments, we get so many comments of really, really positive feedback for the staff about their experiences with them. So it's not just one nice thing, it's like,
It's a
tens,
butterfly. Yeah, it's
hundreds
like the
of nice
butterfly
things.
effect, right? Where it just, so I'm looking at one right now from March 12th for the high school English teacher, Edward Decosta, 61 comments, 233 likes and loves, 12 shares. And one of the comments was from Jeremy. And I had Mr. Decosta sophomore year. He was the best. 3 exclamation points. I did not even know who Stevie Nicks was until his class. Now, every time I hear a song by her, I think of sophomore English class as Mr. Decosta played Stevie quite often. Always a good time. Learned a lot along the way as well.
Yeah, there's so many touching comments that we get on these posts. And it's really amazing. People talk about like what a great influence this teacher had on their life, how they changed their life, how they saved their life in some cases. Like, it's really touching. And I think it really helps boost morale for our staff as well to see them being celebrated on our social media.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what we have is every time she shares the post, she says, you know, would you like to give a staff shout out to an NHS employee who's gone above and beyond? Fill out the nomination form, and she's got the nomination form right there. So that's what she's talking about. It kind of helps fill in, because all of a sudden they're reading something awesome and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I've got a staff member that I want to recognize. And then you do the same thing with your alumni post, you said?
Yeah, it's the same process for the alumni post. I'm encouraging alumni to share their stories. I initially started that one off by asking a prompt question saying, like, I think it was one of the ones that you had suggested on your list. I was like, let's catch up. Like, where are you now? What year did you graduate? And I got a lot of people replying to that. And so I kind of just messaged them and I was like, hey, would you like to share your story? Fill out this form. So I got a lot of responses from that. And then, like, once you kind of get it going by having that link there, it keeps itself self-perpetuating.
Yeah, and they're really good stories. And I see you just did a spreading the love kind of post of what you love about Naugatuck Public Schools too, which was a really cute idea. I love it. And that one might have been, was that part of Lori Marini in our membership group? Did you get that idea from her, or maybe she got it from you?
Yeah, no, I got it from her.
Yeah. So like in the month of February, but you can do it any month. That's the great thing. It doesn't matter talking about what you love about your school. So, okay, I'm going to link up an alumni post, staff shout out, and a what I love about the school. So you guys can look at the show notes. Okay. It's linked in this episode so that you can take a look at that. Okay. So people listening, Laraine, now they are like, I want Laraine to be my BFF. She is like my social media. So some people right now think you're Superwoman. What's your biggest struggle still when it comes to social media? Just so we know you're a real person. And so what would you say is your biggest struggle?
I think you asked me this on the form before the podcast interview, and I came up with an answer. Can we cheat? Can you tell me what it was?
I have to see what it is.
I think it's a struggle just finding the time, like we talked about, to do everything. I have so many ideas of things we could do, and I always want to do new things. And sometimes I just don't have the bandwidth to do everything, to be at all of the events, and sometimes.
That was your answer. So your biggest struggle is to find time to complete all the projects. There's so many great things happening, not enough time in the day to do them all, but you just try to prioritize and block your time.
Yep, there we go. I just had another thought that I lost.
I'm sorry. We've talked about so much, and you've given us so much value. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. But again, when you do look at what Laraine does for a district that big, and the beautiful work that you do, it's just really, it'd be really great to follow her pages. Laraine, have you submitted into the Best of Social Media Awards yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so everybody has until this Friday, April 1st is the deadline for that. You have to submit your entries. So you can submit up to 3 entries. It's right on my website, and there's a little teaser at the beginning of this podcast episode. But I want you guys, because remember, we learn from each other. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to win something, Laraine, but I can guarantee you that I'm a huge fan. And I believe that if more pages looked like yours, we'd be in a lot better spot. So just with that said, get some recognition. But everybody listening, if, we do this Best of Social Media Awards. Last year was our first one, and we had a bunch of categories. And then we're going to announce the winners on May 13th, which happens to be Friday the 13th, but it also happens to be School PR Day. And we give out awards and nice certificate and some recognition to some schools in a variety of different categories, Instagram Idol and LinkedIn and Twitter, and some of the campaigns that you might run, like staff shout outs and things like that. So definitely want you guys to submit it. What's your best social media tip as we end this?
So I just remembered what I was going to say before.
Yes, good.
I was just gonna say, don't be afraid. This is a social media tip too, I guess. So, don't be afraid to try new things. Like, the worst that happens is it just doesn't get a lot of traction, and you know that's okay. Not everything you do is gonna work. Sometimes for whatever reason, posts just don't go anywhere, and you can mark that off as like maybe that's not the kind of post. Maybe it was just the time you posted it, or maybe that if you tried a few times and it's not working, then just drop it and keep doing the things that are really working for you.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have any other tips that you want to share?
Do you have that sheet up?
Well, you just kind of said people want to be proud of their school, so and show students' faces and check your stats. You had a lot of tips. But that's good because you do have a lot of wisdom to share. But the other thing was not being afraid to try new things, and I think that is so key. Like, it's not I just had one this week where I posted and nobody responded. It was kids reading to their pets, but it's also spring break, and so it's like people needed a break, and I was asking them to submit a picture and asking a question. Like today I asked, who was your elementary music teacher? I'm getting a whole bunch of responses to that. So it just depends.
Those kinds of questions where you're asking people to submit pictures are great for Facebook groups.
Oh,
People respond. I feel like people respond more in the group with those kinds of posts. They're like,
yeah,
because it feels more like a community and like you're just sharing it with your friends, I feel like, in the group.
right. Do you ever pull some of that content for your page? Like,
Yeah, sometimes I repurpose it and
you tell them first.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'll say I'm gonna put these on our Facebook page and submit your pictures.
okay, cool. Okay, so I got one more question because you're pretty advanced when it comes to social media and just the gifts that you have. I'm putting you on the spot, so I don't know what you're going to say. But you've been part of this membership group for about 6 months now. How would you say that group is helping you with your professional development and some of these ideas? Do you think that's been advantageous for you to be part of that community?
Yeah, for sure. It's a great place to just bounce your ideas off of other people. I think a lot of people are in the same boat as I am, where like I'm a one-person communications team. So, and I came here from a different world in reporting. So I didn't really have any experience with this, particular kind of thing before I came here. So it's really nice to be able to connect with your colleagues and see, what other people are doing, get some ideas. If you have a question, you can ask at a lot of the same benefits that I try to provide for my parents running my Facebook group for them. So
yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, membership's open, guys. We'd love to have you. If you want to join and you're thinking, my new fiscal year doesn't start till July 1st, reach out because we can develop some payment plans for you. But obviously there's an investment there, but I think there's a big payoff as well. Laraine, this has been awesome. I love talking and learning from you. If people want to get connected with you, Laraine, what's the best way?
yeah, they can email me. My email is laraine.weschler@naugatuck.k12.ct.us. I'm sure you can spell that correctly for everybody.
Yes, we'll put that in the show notes.
And you can follow us on all of our social media that you're also putting in the show notes. So,
and any kind of messages that you'd send in through any of those will come to you, right?
yes.
So yeah, we'll include that email address. Keep up the great work, Laraine. I'm just so glad that we got connected and that I can learn from you and be inspired. And this Facebook group concept is something that might be scary to some people, but when you realize some of the parameters and safeguards that you can put in there, I think you've really made a lot of points in the pro column versus the column of why this might be something helpful for people. And like I said, I will promise you, hopefully you're signed up to our newsletter, but we will get a blog out with the help of Laraine to kind of provide some guidance on that Facebook group. But I think it might be something that could be really valuable for you. So any final parting wisdom, Laraine?
No, my brain is fried now.
You shared.
I had another thought that was like floating through my head as you were talking, and then I lost it. What was I gonna say? Just with the Facebook groups, I think it's just really it is a bit scary. People can, say whatever they want in them, but it's really, I think there's a level of respect, like in our Facebook group, just because it is an official school group versus some other groups that you might be in on Facebook, that like people don't, people are still respectful there. And they really appreciate having that direct line. Oh, and a lot of times I found like people just don't know who to even direct their questions to. You think that it might be obvious, like, oh, you should ask your child's teacher, you should ask the principal or whatever, but like they just don't know who to ask. And having that place for them to be able to ask their questions, and I will get them an answer, even if I don't know it, I know who to ask, I think is really valuable for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great work. They are so blessed to have you in their school district. Naugatuck is a special school to be able to have you. So keep up the great work. And guys, thanks for listening in. Again, if you're going to try out a group, you let us know. You can tweet me at Andrea Gribble, and obviously you can email Laraine if you've got some specific questions. But thanks so much for spending so much time with us, Laraine. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.